Oh, this is Geo dropping in real quick. It looks as though there was some stuttering on our OBS recording that we never caught until far after the fact. And even if we got it at the time, unfortunately, this was footage that is kind of one and done, you know? So as a result, there may be some issues with the footage pausing. Do not worry, your video player is probably working fine. It's a matter of our OBS dropping frames. Sorry about the inconvenience, and I hope it does not ruin your viewing pleasure. You know, um, after this week was this week, and unfortunately, because of a lot of mess, we feel like we could have potentially had another progression episode, but we can't. But we will go ahead and take today to actually do something that we're running late on, and that's to go ahead and recite the entries. First we'll go over the files, which interestingly, Kane's Journal 3 does not unlock yet. But also, we'll then go to listening to the Adventures of Sucre. It's actually pronounced Sucre. I actually looked it up. I'm surprised nobody else has at this point. Right, let's start off with the history of Gasco 1. Gasco is not the name of a nation, but a collection of autonomous regions on the continent that have elected to unite under a single system. Decades before the fragmentation of the continent, these regions often clashed and fought amongst themselves. Tired of such friction, the leaders came together to establish new laws. Laws which forbade the use of force and outlawed possessions of weapons of war. No strict penalties were placed on economic and cultural activities, and this new ruling was hailed as a declaration of freedom throughout all of Gasco. One exception was made for the army of Parasia, which went on to act as a police force for Gasco as a whole. History of Gasco 2. Parasia was the most prosperous city at the time of Declaration of Freedom. It was enclosed within a circular wall to defend itself from outside threats at times when such conflicts were more common throughout Gasco. It grew into a major economic hub and acted as a de facto capital, regularly hosting meetings of regional representatives. Even among these representatives, the head of Parasia held significant influence, and their seat went on to be one of the most important in Gasco politics. Before long, the title of president was bestowed upon this position, one which was determined by elections among the populace of Parasia. Gasco 3. After the fall of Parasia, the representatives of Gasco debated who should next take lead. It was not long before Pharaoh, the second largest city after Parasia, and one spared much of the destruction faced in other regions, was nominated. The presidency was left in the hands of Parisian President Muscat to stave off any political unrest which might brew during a power vacuum. In order to bring a swift end to the turmoil of fragmentation, President Muscat worked to promptly negotiate a ceasefire with the Burman Empire and focus all efforts on Gasco's restoration. Shane's Journal 1. And during my studies of the political sciences at the university, I made acquaintance with the most jovial of older students. This man, Burlot, had sought to attend the Officers' Academy upon graduation, but found such a path closed to when forced to repeat a year of school. Tremendously good-humored, he did not let such weigh down upon him whatsoever. Instead, greatly aided younger students like myself. When rumors of a brilliant new Chancellor student reached our ears, Merlin and myself raced to introduce ourselves. This young man, Kane was his name, kept himself in his books in a manner which precluded most social interaction. But Merlot was never one but inhibited by such, and called on him just the same. Thus began our trio of friendship. Shane's journal, too. This year, as I entered into my third decade of life, I was blessed with a daughter, Canelle. She has her mother's stoic face, though Merlot is busy proving his worth within the Gasco army, and Kane is occupied by his duty to his students. Both kindly made time to join me in celebration. Kane revealed to me that day that he and the woman he had been seeing were engaged to be wed. She was a mysterious sort, and one who seemed just right beside him. Myself, I had been engaged with politics of Gasco now for several years. The three of us spoke wildly of a future we hoped to lead Gasco towards. It was a night I am certain none of us shall ever forget. Change Gerald 3. With Vanilla now 6 years of age, I have called upon Kane to tour just as he had Canelle. He tells me that unlike Canelle, he was both talented and determined. Vanilla shows signs of anxiety and emotional outburst. I was aware of as much, of course, as any good father would be, but I pleaded with Kane to offer guidance nonetheless. He promised to focus on her education with a greater degree than he had with Canelle. The man is the most dependable of teacher and truly an irreplaceable friend. Change Journal 4. The Burman Empire has long last made its move on Gasco. Years ago, a defector from among their ranks informed us of the Empire's plans. Merlot and I had worked to secure our defenses. However, our foes struck with more might than we imagined, and our defenses seemed hardly enough to hold against their blitzkrieg airship tactics. It was vexing to watch as our forces barely sufficed to protect Praesia, never mind the furthest expanses of Gasco as a whole. I am informed that many residents of the Province of Mal have been taken away. Kane's family resides in that province, and have been unreachable for some time now. Yet I've been thrown into dismay, the like of which I have never seen before. Pains me to see him so. There were a lot of camps that they set up in Gasco. Of course, we rescued the characters' families in the first game from them. But there's one that sticks out, especially if they're going to make a plot point here. Sheena's family was captured by a particularly brutal scientist who was extracting the magic energy that the fellow Echoes have. And I'm wondering if he took Kane's family too. Merlot's journal. Massive unidentified tank launched an attack on Burman and freed those held captive at the present camp in Mal. Unfortunately, during the search of premises, we discovered that Kane's parents, wife, and son have all lost their lives there. When given the news, Kane fell to his knees and cowered. He held in a manner I have heard from no man before, his eyes flooding his face with tears. The sight of him was so tragic, it brought those around him to tears as well. What killed am I if I cannot even save the family of my dearest friend? Forgive me, Kane. Kane's Journal 1. With the help of the giant tank Taranis, Gasco managed to push back the Burman Imperial Army and their vanguard tank, which caused such destruction throughout our lands. It seemed we would at last avenge the deaths of my family. By regrouping our forces and utilizing the Taranis, I was certain we would make Burman pay for their wicked crimes. But Shane chose not to. Gasco is too weakened to strike, he said. Restoration of our lands should come first, he said. There's truth in as much, certainly, but every moment we spend recuperating, so too does the Burman Empire as they bid their time for yet another invasion. Kane's Journal 2. Shane, his wife Jelly, and daughter Vanilla intend to observe Gasco's reconstruction. I too intend to join as representative for all those who lost loved ones in the war. Surely, my calling as a teacher is to inform Vanilla of the pain of such tremendous loss. While alone in the car with Muscat family, I used spells to put them to sleep and destroy all the cars traveling with us. By causing the cliff face to collapse, I made it all look like some freak accident. Once more, I stole the clothes off Shane and hypnotized Vanilla into believing her father had rescued her from the crash. Shane's death will be written off as it were my own. Farewell, old friend. You and Joey can now watch from above as I will ask get my revenge. The Century's message. Kane's Journal 4. After the so-called accident, I used magic to disguise my own face as Shane's. Just to be safe, I wrapped my head in bandages, for presumed burns as well. This caused most people to instinctively avert their eyes to begin with. Now all that's left is to use the supposed slumbering Jill to bring the Villainous to its full potential and restore the Vanderground. This is how we punish those Burmen for ever daring to invade our lands, and how I will give my wake-up call to Gasco, which refused me my revenge. That is it for that. And now for the comic pages of Sucre. We'll go ahead and start at the beginning. After I get a drink of water. The Adventures of Sucre, Flight to the Moon are... actually, what I will go ahead and do is, I should be able to handle this. Sucre, courageous 15-year-old boy with a sense of justice. When push comes to shove, his wit is his weapon. Krima, Sucre's buddy and female pet owl that understands spoken language. Mela, Sucre's lively childhood friends. She tends to be a little too helpful. The Doctor, a time-traveling Time Lord. An oddball inventor. He creates some amazing inventions, even though they usually break right away. Professor Burry, previously an archaeology professor, he was banished from the academic society after his fraud was discovered. A money grubber, does not use a wit. Count Nobiline, a mysterious man in a mask. He persuades Professor Burry to come along and steal treasure. Adventures of Sucre, Episode 1. Research Institute, the Fountain of Innovation. Eureka! That's it! I found it at last! What's gotten you into you all of a sudden, Doctor? Hoo-hoo. Is that the latest ancient script you got your hands on? It'll somehow explode. Indeed, and one with information I have sought for years. It's somehow going to explode. Information about the great energy source, Juno. You're kidding, does that mean? But yes, indeed, the time has come at last. I'm glad you're both excited, but does someone mind explaining what's going on? This is the energy source we need for a yet incomplete mode of transport. It's a rocket he thought he could never finish. One that could take us adventuring to the moon. The moon? There's no time to waste. Set course for the ruins. I'll get things ready to go. I'm coming too. Crash, bang, doing. Going. Hoo hoo. Poor thing seems a little down. To be continued. Episode 2. Sucre and the others proceed with preparations for exploring the ruins. Meanwhile, elsewhere, deep in the Juno ruins. I found it at last! The greatest treasure of all. Love! Oh, the ancient energy source, Juno! It's all mine! Count Nobiline will never even know! But this alone won't do. They'll need to get the other up and running. But that's precisely why I gave those fools that intel. I'm sure they're headed right here, right this moment. To be continued. Several days after Sucre and the others depart. Entrance to Juno ruins. At last, we made it. Good heavens. Doctor, you really ought to exercise more. Sucre's right. He's the one carrying all the heavy gear. Hoo-hoo. Yes, I'm well aware, but I run the ancient text by a roughly translator. See? It appears that there's more to these ruins than just Juno alone. Like what? Ancient weapon known as a Terran. Left here to defend the Juno, perhaps. An ancient weapon? That sounds dangerous. I can't completely decipher it with translator. I'm just going to call it a translator. We'll only find out by further exploring these ruins. Sounds like an adventure to me. Oh, Sucre. Come on, Doctor, let's get exploring. Yes, carefully, though. It's been smooth sailing so far. Too smooth. Best keep my guard up. I wonder what that laughing is. The Adventures of Sucre, Episode 4. Inside the Ruins. Marvelous, look at all this ancient writing. It's in great shape, too. But what if there's ghosts and stuff around here? Excellent, my translator is working better than anticipated. Only the best from your inventions. Let's just hope this one doesn't explode. I was about to say something about explosions. There's something odd about the text, though. Think it's because of your device or the text itself? The text, of course. It says here the ancient weapon Terran was not built to defend the Juno. Instead, it was meant to destroy it. The what? Then what was it doing here? Good question. We should move along to find out more. Right, so let's see what else we could find. This is only getting scarier. What is this? Vroom! Vroom! Vroom vroom! The Adventures of Sucre, Episode 5. Must be going pretty deep now. Indeed. Ho-ho! What's the matter, Krima? Oh! No way, it can't be. It's an ancient weapon, the Terran. Blam! Look out! What? Zam! Oh! Kaya! Bella! Krima! Zer! Zerp! Hey, you let them go! Broom! Brr! No way, it's mobile? To be continued. Yes, the very tank-like weapon is in fact mobile. The Adventures of Sucre, Episode 6. Brr! Allow me to thank you for resurrecting the Terran for me. Professor Burry, what is the meaning of this? Vroom, 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 vroom. I required 2 living beings to use as energy sources for this weapon. Basically showed up here by my own invitation. Ah, so it was you who let that text fall into my hands. Vroom, 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 vroom. It hurts. How dare you use our friends like that? Well, I keep using them too, you know. Until I get what I want, that is. You're wicked. Why are you trying to pull? Boom! Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to absorb the Jeru into the Terran here. Once I do, I'll have the world's strongest weapon. How could you just use the Juno for such twisted ends? You won't get away with this. Brr! Vroom, vroom. Once the Terran is fully operational, not even Count Novelli can. Huh? Brr! What's happening? Why have I lost control? Brr! That's a blast! Stop, I say! We gotta go after that thing. Mel and Krim are in danger. Right. To be continued. Adventures of Sucre and the Taron, Episode 7. Brrr! Well, when did this thing get a mind of its own? Thankfully, it's still headed for the Juno, though. Ahaha! As if I have everything under control! Pitta-patta, pitta-patta. Oh, how does it think that huge move so fast? Brady's about to make a grave mistake. According to the writing here, Tank is off to destroy the Juno. What? That would bring Professor Brady's wicked plans to a halt. But would all but put an end to our chances of reaching the moon, too. What's worse is that without Tank's fires, our friends' lives will be put at risk. Shoot, how can we stop this thing? Seem in need of help. Huh? Whoosh. It is I, young Sucre. Count Noveline. To be continued. Episode 8. Vroom Vroom. You wish to stop that thing, yes? Allow me to assist. You? But why? I too do not wish to see the Juno destroyed. Now then, shall we? I don't have time for this. Fine then. Whoosh. Very well, head through here then. Here goes nothing. Good, good, almost there. Whoosh! Hiya! What? Wham! Oof! Bit of pat. Ah! Crash! Ugh. Oh. Why won't you stop? Episode 9. Creak! Psh. It stopped. No, how could this happen? Professor Brady, fancy seeing you here. Now, Noveline, what are you? I've had my eyes on these ruins for some time now. There's yet more yet to be investigated, but... Why don't we continue this chat this day, Professor? Yes, sir. Young Sucre, I'll leave it in your hands for the time being. So long. Whoosh. At least everyone is safe. The Juno, too. Oh, thank you, Sucre. I was so scared. Glad you're safe as well, Sucre. All is well. I guess it is. Let's Count Noveline planning. What do we do with this tank now? I'm off later. It will be continued. And an episode we have yet to access. This might be where we are ending. You know what? Let's go ahead and go over the locations. Gasco, the Shattered Continent. The calamitous event a year prior caused the continent to fragment and divide into several groups of floating islands. The position of each region has shifted dramatically due to tempestuous air currents. Pharaoh. Following the fragmentation of Gasco, the industrial city of Pharaoh, having suffered the least amount of destruction due to being nestled in the mountains, became the new capital place in Parisia. The headquarters of the Gasco army were also relocated here. Pharaoh Mountain Range. The sturdy bedrock excavated for this quarry is used as high-quality building material for construction in Pharaoh. A rail line is being developed to transport the stone more efficiently. Lhasa Apso. Once the site of an extinct volcano, the sulfur-rich lava beds were destroyed after the fragmentation of Gasco. Excavation has all but ceased, following the resulting loss of a majority of the mines. Port. A chain of facilities constructed as interconnecting terminals for airships. The primary mode of transportation following the fragmentation of Gasco. They are currently constructed only on larger islands, but in time they may soon be found across the nation. Dutch Hot Springs. A hot spring created by rupturing of land in Lhasa Apso. In current Gasco, where running water is a commodity, this natural overflowing spring has become a place of healing for the populace. Border. An island featuring nothing but desolate, untamed wilderness in the northeast of Gasco. Living conditions are so inhospitable here that the population has been gradually migrating to other islands. Ruins. Several such rocky outcrops featuring Meta motifs and icons have been discovered throughout Gasco. Some even house deadly traps and bloodthirsty creatures within. Hidden ruins. The decaying edifice of an enormous looming ruin. The entrance remains sealed tight and said none have ever entered within its steps. Samoyed. A floating island covered by a vast forest that houses the cathedral of the Anjou religion. It is revered as a sacred site by the people of Gasco, along with the twin island of Mal, the Holy Land of Spells. Samoyed Cathedral. Lofty cathedral of the Anjou, a religion widely practiced throughout Gasco. Dubbed the Cathedral of Miracles after surviving mostly intact following the Great Separation of the continent, the Holy House now draws many pilgrims from across the land. Forest of Slumber. Forest where holy festivals of Anjou religion are held. Even the most faithful believers are barred entry save for when a festival is taking place. That's it. Desolate wasteland of an island. Aid and supplies are hard to come by due to its distance from Pharaoh, which makes life very difficult for its residents. The greatest crisis they face is lack of clean running water. Lives of Gasco populace. Mass immigration is underway throughout Gasco, as much of the populace now find themselves on small remote islands where ports cannot be built. This makes it difficult to eke out a living, and worse yet, leaves them helpless when dire needs of aid. It was discovered that the area near the port Eastern port of Basset. It was discovered that the area near the port generates low magnetic field that causes gauges and devices to go berserk. Relocation of the port is now being considered in order to prevent potential accidents. Shetland. Batch of earth-rich veins and minerals that now finds itself isolated as an island in the sky. Has since been repurposed as a booming mining island serviced by airship transport. Shetland resources. Since excavation points can be accessed from any point around the island, heretofore unseen troves of ore have been sourced from within. Shetland industries. Beyond the mines, steel mills and factories have also been constructed on the island, creating a self-sufficient industry. The island has become a veritable boon to Gasco's growing industrial sector. Mal. The displacement of isolation of this place caused by the great fragmentation of Gasco has cultivated its appeal as sacred ground for the practice of spellcraft. It has recently attracted many followers of the folklorist legend Osha Lasama. Statues of an upside-down wolf. These enigmatic floating stone statues are emblematic of Mal, and the reason of it's heralded as sacred ground for the practice of spellcraft. Legends say that this sacred ground was established with the inverted relief of the legendary wolf tribe at its center. Osha Lasama, a religious group who practices spellcraft and refers to the no-no, the source of spells, as Osha Lasama. They pray to icons and paint motifs with magical properties on rocks and stone. That. A relatively large floating island in the southwest of Gasco is a mainstay in the agricultural sector of the nation, with its dense forests and grasslands rich with provisions ripe for harvesting. Vesla Wetlands. That's a wetland in the south of Dale Kurelia. Reported sightings of mutated flora and fauna are on the rise after the great fragmentation of the continent, with many witnessing enormous forms of plant life. Spino Lake. Many rivers were cut off from their source following the great fragmentation, causing fresh water to become a precious resource. Spino Lake, however, remains a miraculously thriving fountainhead that sustains the populace of the surrounding islands. Saluki. A floating island full of soil-rich cropland, home to the largest agriculture enterprise in Gasco. It's colloquially known as Gasco's Kitchen. The Darwin Islands. Darwin wastelands were split into a cluster of small islands by great fragmentation. Their size prohibits ports from being established, and the interference they give off prevents airships from veering too close. The Darwin Islands Crystal. Material occasionally found in the Darwin archipelago. Has the appearance of ore, but breaks down easily and holds no aesthetic value. Not that anyone is in a hurry to gather it, as the islands are difficult enough to get to as it is. Mastiff. A section of the Alpine Mastiff Central region that became a floating island of solid bedrock. This precipitous island is covered in high mountains. Mastiff Quarry. The region was a hotspot for excavating precious building materials used in the construction parts of Great Fragmentation. Now it faces the challenge of exporting large quantities of heavy stones to various locales without the means of overland transport routes. Pharaoh and Mastiff. They're originally part of the same province. The difference in their industrial development post-fragmentation has led to fierce rivalry between Mastiff and Pharaoh. The Deep Depths. A mysterious realm separated from reality, free of the constraints of time and space. The desires of those within of the realm makes up how the space is perceived, though little is known of its inner workings. Hope you enjoyed this session. Sorry again for it not really being a progress thing, but we'll try hard to get back on track. Talk to you all later.